All right, this video is a review for the quiz on circles, on their terminology, their arcs, their angles, tangents, and chords. Okay, so for numbers 1 through 7, use the circle to the right and answer the following questions. Number 1, state the name of the circle. Well, you name a circle by its center. So here's how you do it. This is the symbol right here. Circle A. Number 2, state a radius. A radius is a segment that goes from the center of the circle to a point on the circle. So one example of a radius would be AH. Segment AH. Or you could say segment AF. AF is also a radius. Number 3, state a diameter. A diameter is a segment that has both endpoints on the circle and it goes through the center of the circle. Okay, so an example of a radius would be FH. Okay. Number 4, state a tangent line. A tangent line is a line that intersects a circle at exactly one point. So this is a tangent line right here. Remember, you name a tangent line with any 2 points on the circle. So I'll use points B and H, and I'll say line BH. Number 5, state a minor arc. A minor arc must be less than 180 degrees. Okay. Normally you use 2 letters when you name a minor arc, but you don't have to use 2, but normally you use 2, okay? And remember, it has to be less than 180. So one example of an arc that's minor would be arc FG. That's definitely less than 180. Note the symbol above it, okay? Number 6, state a major arc. Now, a major arc must be more than 180 degrees. And you're going to name it with 3 letters. Okay, 3 letters must be more than 180. So, for example, arc HGD. I'll do that one. And number 7, name a semicircle. A semicircle is half of a circle. You use 3 letters when you name it. So, for example, HGF. Again, notice the notation above it. For numbers 8 through 10, state whether each statement is true or false. Number 8, the measure of a central angle is half the arc it intercepts. Well, that is false, okay? So let's draw a central angle. That's a central angle. Let's pretend that it's 80. If that's 80, then the arc is 80. So central angles equal the arcs they intercept, okay? Central angles equal the arcs they intercept. So therefore, this is false. Number 9, the measure of an inscribed angle is half of the arc that it intercepts. Well, that one's going to be true. Here's a central angle. Here's an inscribed angle. Let's say that it's 30 degrees. The arc that it intercepts is 60. So yes, it is half. The inscribed angle is half the arc it intercepts. So yes, that one's true. Number 10, the opposite angles of a quadrilateral inscribed in a semicircle are supplementary. That means they add to 180. This one's going to be true. The opposite angles of a quadrilateral inscribed in a semicircle are supplementary. They do add to 180. So for example, there's a circle. Let me draw a quadrilateral that's inscribed in that circle. Every point on that quadrilateral is on the circle. And the opposite angles are, in fact, supplementary. So let's just pretend that this is 110. If that's 110, this angle is 70. Because the opposite angles are, in fact, supplementary. That's just the fact, okay? So just to expand upon that more, let's say this is 95 degrees, then this angle would be 85 because these are opposite angles and they're supplementary. That's just a fact. You have to know that's a fact. So number 10 is true. For numbers 11 through 15, find the measure of the arc, the angle, or the segment indicated. Assume that lines which appear to be diameters are actually diameters. So for number 11, maybe try to ignore the top half of the circle. And you see we have a semicircle down below. So if arc XY is 80, then arc UY has to be 100 because it has to add to 180 because it's a semicircle. So the measure of arc YU equals 100 degrees. Notice my notation for the answer. Put the little M for the measure and put the arc symbol above YU. Number 12, find the measure of angle TVS. Okay, well, this is 60, so this is 60. That's 37. This is 37. We don't know that. This is 155. The central angle is also 155. That's 63. The central angle is also 63. What you have to know is that all these arcs add to 360. And also all the central angles add to 360. So you have all the other angles and all the other arcs, just find the missing one. They all have to add to 360. So in a sense, you're doing 360 minus 155 minus 63 minus 60 minus 37, and that gives you 45 degrees. That's the missing arc, and that's the missing angle. So the measure of angle TVS equals 45 degrees. Number 13, find the measure of angle CTS. I'm going to get a colored pencil out, and I'm going to color in the angle. I'm going to color in the arc that this angle is inscribed in. That arc is the arc that this angle is inscribed in. So my question is, what is the measure of that arc that I just colored in? All the arcs add to 360. So you can do 360 minus 124 minus 70. Now that arc that I just colored in is 166 degrees. The measure of angle CTS is half of 166 because it's the inscribed angle. So this missing angle is half of 166. In other words, it's 83 degrees. So that's the answer. The measure of angle CTS equals 83 degrees. Number 14, find that missing segment. Okay. So this is tangent to the circle because it only intersects the circle at one point. I'm not trying to trick you. That's a right angle, so it's tangent. This is 5.6, which means this is also 5.6 because all the radii are the same. That's the definition of a circle. So to solve for the missing segment, I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem. So I'm going to do x squared plus 5.6 squared equals 10.6 squared. Solve that. x squared plus 31.36 equals 112.36. Subtract, you get x squared equals 81, which means x equals the square root of 81. And we only want the positive one because we're talking about a distance. So x is going to equal 9. Okay, number 15, the last problem. Solve for x. Okay. Check this out. Okay. Let's use some color again. That's a radius right there. And this is also a radius. Both of those blue segments are the same because they're both radii. Okay? So you know that both of those blue segments are 15.5. We need x. In order to get x, I'm going to call this y. We have to solve for y first. Once we solve for y, we can get x. Let's solve for y using the Pythagorean theorem. Y squared plus 12.2 squared equals 15.5 squared. Okay, y squared plus 148.84 equals 240.25. Subtract it, you get y squared equals 91.41. So y is going to be approximately 9.6, I'll call it. Now, notice that x plus y is a radius. So again, all the radii are the same. So x plus y should equal 15.5. All the radii are the same. That's the definition of a circle. So we need to find x, and we just established that y is 9.6. So 15.5 minus 9.6 gives you the final answer. X is approximately 5.9. Okay. And that is the end of the quiz review on circles, terminology, arcs, angles, tangents, and chords.